Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another YouTube video. So today I'm going to keep this YouTube short. This is because I have written an absolute banger of a newsletter that's going to come out tomorrow. It's normally on Saturday when mine comes out, but I'm actually going to release mine tomorrow, and Pav's going to release his section on Saturday. This is because I'm actually going to be traveling today. I've got a wedding that I'm going to very shortly. After that, I'm going to be flying. I'll be at a crypto event over the weekend. Then I'll be flying again at another crypto event that I'll fill you in on when I get to my next location. I'll fill you in on everything that I'm doing, but they're exciting things, and I think you guys are going to be excited to hear what I've been up to. Anyway, before we get to that, I'm going to just do a bit of a fact and fiction, YouTube today, and then I'm going to leave you to read the newsletter tomorrow. I'll give you a quick highlight of the newsletter. I'm bullish. A lot of people are turning bearish. I've given my bullish stance and broken down every single reason why I'm bullish on XRP specifically, but also why on Bitcoin. So, fact and fiction. Fact: XRP ETF, the first spot ETF goes live today. Some are going to say Rex Osprey was the first one to go live. Not technically correct. It's not 100% spot XRP ETF, even though it did have some spot XRP supporting the ETF. Today is the first live spot XRP ETF, which I think is Canary Capital. Second fact: the government shutdown has finished, and the government are back today. So anyone who's been leaning on the side of, oh, the government needs to come back so they can release the TGA Treasury General account, and that's going to boost liquidity for markets, that argument is going to be settled in the next few days, today-ish, as the Treasury look to redeploy some of that capital and liquidity into the markets. So I said I was going to do fact and fiction, and we're going to start with some liquidity charts. We've shown you two facts there. Here's another. It's going to be. It's going to sound obvious when I talk about it, but I don't think it is something that people are discussing enough. Let's get to the daily time frame. We're looking at XRP here. This is my first fact. My first fact is, on October the 10th, we had the largest liquidation event in the history of crypto. This took out all of our downside, or all the people who are longing XRP, and that story reiterates across many other altcoins. I'll just pick a random altcoin here. Let's pick, I don't know, Sui. Sui is another one. I'll take us to the daily. All of our downside daily liquidity was taken on Sui. Every altcoin is exactly the same. It's not even loading, but I can tell you for a fact every altcoin was exactly the same, leaving only upside liquidity to be taken. Now, I'll tell you another fact: 80% of the time, price moves into these dense areas of liquidity. That's because that's where market makers and exchanges make money. So, I'm not saying that this can't be the 1 in 5 times where we don't do that, but I would be very surprised if the market makers, or whoever you believe, flush this out, would flush out all the long positions to then not flush out the short positions. Doesn't make any sense to me. I can tell you another fact: this downside liquidity grab, or downside long liquidation, is the largest we've ever seen in crypto by a multiple of 10. The previous was FTX at about 2 billion, and this was around a 20 billion liquidation. I can tell you another fact. The liquidation event essentially was because of misprice communication, essentially on Binance. And then another fact is that the ex-CEO of Binance was then pardoned by the President of the United States one day after the event, or maybe 2 days. So from that, you can do with whatever with that information that you like. But what I'm saying is, the fact is now all the liquidity resides above us, especially for altcoins. Even if we look towards ETH, ETH didn't crash as hard as the other altcoins, but a lot of ETH's liquidity below was wiped. There is still some liquidity below for ETH on the daily time frame. Yet above us, we now have again the densest area of liquidity we've ever seen. Remember, not just that market makers and exchanges make money when these positions are opened and closed, so it makes sense for them to push into these positions, but also this means the most people in history are shorting ETH right now. And do you think that the most people are going to win on on, like in terms of leverage, are going to win their trades. That's never been the case before. So unless all of a sudden we've become the best traders in the world in the crypto space, at the same time that BlackRock and other people have come into the space, then like I don't know. We're all of a sudden crypto traders better than master market manipulators and trillionaire, like people who hold multi-billions, if not trillions, or even multi-trillions of assets under management. Do we actually think as a crypto space we are outperforming them and out trading them? That's a question for you guys to decide. And then going to just finish on the fact that XRP, as I said, ETF goes live today. XRP is currently up 4.5%. XRP has been holding a range above 7-year resistance. Now holding it at support, been there for a year, especially after this liquidation wick was brought back up to the upside. Oh, another fact is, no retail investors that I know were filled on this liquidation event on their wick, even if it came into some of the limit areas that they had bids on. So who bought up that supply? There's another question for you. But there's also a fact. I don't actually know many people, if any, that were filled as low as like 70 cent. I know some people who were filled at like 150, but even from 150, you're still 100% basically that way. Is 150. You're still roughly 100% less than what you could have got if you got it at 70 cent. Someone bought at 70 cent, and it wasn't anyone that I know. Another thing is XRP, Bitcoin. I'm not going to get into it too much. I'm going to take all my drawings off actually, so you guys don't get the newsletter ruined. But we are potentially about to have a bullish cross on the weekly, again at 7-year resistance. And what I've talked about in the newsletter is what this could lead to. We've seen a minimum of a 49% increase and a maximum of a 336% increase, or maybe, yeah, 336% increase on XRP against Bitcoin when we have a bullish weekly cross. And we've got one right now, and that would actually take us above these resistance levels. XRP dominance, again, a similar story. I think this is a Wyckoff accumulation completed. I'll give you a quick preview there. You can have a look at the newsletter for my breakdown of that. And XRP ETH, I think XRP ETH could set an all-time high this cycle. Imagine the disbelief in the face of the haters if that does happen. Again, I have discussed in the newsletter as well, and I'll discuss it here. I do think that it's possible that we have a pullback into this area for Bitcoin. I think that would really cement the bearish thesis in most people in the market. But for me, there's a little bit of liquidity there, especially on the hourly, that could be taken. However, I also discussed that it might not be the case. It might not have to happen because there's a definite argument for a Wyckoff reaccumulation here, and we discussed this yesterday, where this would suggest that the bottom's already in. So spot positions are great. I'm sitting in spot. I'm watching XRP. I'm cheering it on. I'm looking to see what happens at the US government reopening, the XRP spot ETF going live today. And I've written a long thesis on my bullish stance towards XRP and why. And I've kind of put my neck out on the line a little bit, and I don't really care. I think it's time that people speak their mind in crypto. I won't always be right, but I can give you the explanation and the reason into why I think the way that I do. So please do go and check that out. That is released tomorrow. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you on the flip side, guys. Peace up, A-Town down, as Crypto Insight UK would say. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, subscribe button, and share it with a friend. As always, nothing I say is financial advice. But if you want a link to trade to any leverage on non-KYC exchanges, I've got 2 in the description below, WeX and MEXC. Peace.